excited for Dead Island 2. I've been avoiding watching too many videos on it because it's kind of getting to the point to where people are going out of their way to even spoil certain parts of the game. They're like, "Oh, well, I played this part and you walk into this house and there's blah 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 and blah." And it's like, "Okay, well, that's what happens when you watch too many videos on a game that you're looking forward to, right? They start spoiling it for you after a while. Isn't that how it always goes?" But so yeah, I'm trying very hard to stay away from videos because it's gonna be like non-stop spoilers the closer we get. So, but some things that I'm looking forward to seeing for Dead Island 2 would be like, how did they improve the combat? Like, how did they make it more satisfying? Um, I would like to see that. What I'd like to see them do is avoid sewer levels unless it absolutely has to be in the game, because nothing really spoils the experience of Dead Island quite like the frickin' constant traveling back and forth into the sewers. And all depending on what you do, it could either be pretty easy to navigate through, or it could be an absolute resource drain just trying to get through it all. Uh, and I don't really know, like, what was the point other than maybe they weren't really sure what to do in terms of how to get the player from one area to the next. So they just kept forcing you to go into the sewer. And that's the one thing that I really didn't like with this game. I mean, the resort area, you spend enough time in the resort area and it really spoils you, right? To the beauty of this game. And then you go through this one segment where all it is just go into the sewer, fight your way through all these zombies that they somehow found their way into the sewer. Like, really? All of these zombies are in the sewer. How did they get down here? Right? Well, video game logic. That's why. So I was like, I always despise that whole sewer thing. Try to get through it as fast as possible. So hopefully, I would like to see them stay away from using the sewers, excessive sewer use, right? Please don't do that. Another thing I'd like to see is a balanced and fair gameplay in the way that you don't feel like you're being punished because you're not playing in co-op. That can happen in parts of Dead Island, to where if you're not ready for what comes next is usually really unfair. You have to have a lot of blow up shit in certain parts of the game, which makes it kind of tough because having to play it a specific way, load yourself up on meat bait and explosives in order to get through some really hectic gameplay is, in my opinion, that it takes away from variety of gameplay, right? You can't try anything new because you have to stick with what you know. And what you know is a lot of blow up shit when you're playing by yourself, because the game feels like it's punishing you for not being in co-op. So I'm hoping to see Dead Island 2 be fun for single player mode as well as co-op mode. I mean, in order to play this game in single player, like when I first started playing it in PlayStation 3 era, uh, there was a whole lot of dying, a whole lot of blood, a whole lot of cussing, a whole lot of missteps here and there. There were times where I had to literally start the game all over again. Like, if I reached a point where I'm like, oh man, I am so unprepared for this, and there's no way around this. I would have to go back to the very beginning and script my steps one after another, after another, after another, all bearing in mind that one moment where I was stuck in this one spot and no other I had no other options to me, right? So hopefully we don't see too much of that where you get to a specific point in the game and you're literally having to start all over again. Yeah, sure, you come out the experience being quite the professional zombie slayer, but starting over again because you have to, not because you want to, really, it's hard. It is. It's hard on the player, right? So, I mean, okay. Yeah. Get me.
Sure.
Yep, gimme. Gimme. Yep. 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 That'll do. Calm down, Harlan. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice if the game didn't make you feel like, you're being punished because you're playing him for in solo, right? So, uh gunplay should feel better too. I would like to see better I would like to see uh gunplay be a lot more satisfying. It's not terrible in this game, and it kind of feels a little tacked on, you know what I mean? It always felt a little tacked on. So, yeah, I would very much like to see improved firearm combat, improved melee combat. Just I want to feel it, right? When you bust a zombie in the head, like it shouldn't just look kind of good. It should look real good. It should feel good to hit shit in that game, right? So hopefully we'll see some improvements in that regard as well. I know a lot of people are talking about like how they're a little disappointed that it's not going to be an open world. I think that this again, like I think that's a really good idea because there's so many open world games out there, right? So if it's not open world, then there's this idea that it gives them a chance to slow down on the world building, right? Like environmental storytelling should be just dripping with all kinds of cool stuff for you to discover, right? So, I mean, that could prove to be a strength of the game. So I'm not turned off at all about it being simply a bunch of districts strung together, right? As long as you're not constantly having to go into the sewers to get from one place to another. I think Dying Light did a very good job in its use of sewers, like the first game. And it's probably because they realized after Dead Island that the sewer levels in Dead Island were lazy and really unfair, and it just dragged the experience down because of how many times the game took you into the sewers. I bring that up. I stress that because last night I was playing in co-op with Little Mama, and we had to do like the sewer thing, and just going through and remembering how many times the game puts you down in the sewers and you're fighting the same zombies you would be fighting on the street. They don't really look, they look so out of place in the sewers, right? How did they get down there? Why are they there? Don't know, because the player needs zombies to kill. So let's just make the sewers a just terrible gauntlet. Right? So, because that sounds fun. No, it wasn't fun. Uh, and again, just trying very hard to imagine that. Well, I mean, you don't have to try too hard to imagine. Hopefully, the folks who finished the game spent time with this game and they saw its strengths, and they also saw where it was grossly lacking in the progression. where it sort of dragged, where it excelled, and they took note of that when they were working on the second game. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the things that they polished up, right? Hopefully, like their side quest design is a much tighter, because I mean, goodness knows, there's nothing more frustrating than going to get food for cinnamon s'mores. I love I love some that's what I call them anyway, the lifeguard cinnamon s'mores. And Harlan needs gas. There's plenty of room to have gas and food, but the game wants to glitch out on you. It won't let you do both missions at once because reasons. The game won't let you bring any more than 2 crates of food back to the lifeguard tower because reasons. So, I mean, yeah, some of the design in this, like the mission design in this game, felt like it feels very sloppy, even to this day. Um, so yeah, hopefully a lot of that's been taken into consideration with the first game. Be like, well, let's not do that with the second game. Let's keep things flowing well as far as story. Let's make the side missions not too tedious to where, you have to backtrack because your truck just refuses to acknowledge that it has room for gas and food. So, yeah. Hopefully, right? Hopefully. Um, but yeah, that's my 2 cents. Hopefully the gunplay and the melee combat feels really good, right? Um, Hopefully the solo experience is balanced enough to where you don't have to be like, well, this was obviously designed for co-op, so I'm just gonna have to bring a lot of explosives with me to get to the end game. Like that's what I do. I do a lot of farming for like I hunt infected, and I'm constantly looking for deodorant and duct tape. Um, and there are moments where I could use that stuff, but I usually hold off. Like last night, I had some meat bait, and I just it was the point I'd rather die than use it because I know what I'm saving it up for, right? I'm saving it up for like the prison. The prison is like that's the end game area. That's where, you really need to bring it. And if you have not brought it, you will get it. So hopefully you don't see that situation in Dead Island too. Give us enough room to experiment, so we're not having to do the exact same thing. We're not having to bring the exact same bombs, exact same number of meat bait uh, to the end game, so that way we could survive. Give us room to experiment. Um, so yeah, yeah. Don't make it too co-op-y, right? Make it fun, either solo or co-op. That would be great. And please, please don't fill the game up with a bunch of sewer levels, please. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That's not a thing. Um, so we'll see, because it feels like every game like this has to have a sewer level. And in Dead Island's case, like there was a moment where it was nothing but sewer levels, and it really sucks. It's one of the few things I don't look forward to. Um, but yeah, I'm just farting around, um, thinking about like things I'd like to see with the
Can't
game.
hurt to look.
And again, I am avoiding watching a bunch of videos because I feel like people are going to try to overhype it, or they're going to undersell it, right? Videos are overhyping or underselling a game. You see it all the time. And I don't want that noise in my head as I patiently wait for the release of Dead Island 2. Um, yeah, because I don't want to know every little scrap of information, because that just ruins it, you know. So I don't want to do that to myself. Anyway, Yeah, so those are the things I would like to see and not like to see in Dead Island 2. I don't know, what about you guys? I mean, is there anything that, yeah, I know we could say the jank would, it'd be nice if there wasn't a whole lot of jank, right? uh, I don't know. What would you guys like to see? Um, oh, escort missions, right? Um, they're not terrible in this game, but they're kind of terrible, right? So maybe not so many escorts. Um, yeah, that one with the chieftain where you have to escort him. Yeah, that's another spot where even before you get to the prison, if you don't bring any meat bait with you, oh my gosh. That and of course the fighting pit, right? But again, these are moments that felt like it was the game was absolutely screaming at you. You should be in co-op. Why aren't you in co-op, right? So you had to figure out what to use in order to get through those areas. Um, so yeah, I am looking forward to co-oping with Little Mama, and but I will be playing it separately in solo mode too because I want to see how the game does in solo. Is it a balanced experience? You know, kind of like Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 you can play with friends, but it's also a very satisfying experience if you're just playing it by yourself too. So, you know, hopefully they kind of nailed that, right? Um, but yeah, we'll see. We shall see, most surely. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and I will catch you on the flip side.